Shabbat Shalom, everybody. Good evening. It's a wonderful evening. It's not too cold, not too hot, not too wet, not too dry.
Goldilocks approves.
For a change, right? Because we had quite the weather here.
Yes.
If you're joining us virtually, and all of us, welcome. I'm Rabbi Javier Carapan, and I am joined this evening by Leslie Zucker and our musicians and our technical team. Special thank you to our BOW committee for bringing us beyond our walls. And we always looking for digital docents. If you, this is something that sounds like you would like to do. I'm not talking to you because you're already doing enough. We can always use some help. Please contact the office directly. For all of us here in person, we're calling the pages in the square brackets, and we invite you to make sure that your electronic devices are all in silent. I'm going to do the same with mine, making sure mine
Just
is.
in case.
Yeah, right.
God always calls at the most inconvenient times.
Happens. We welcome this Shabbat together at home. If you have candles, we invite you to light them. And here, it is my honor to invite Alisa and Julie to join us up here on the bima and light the candles and welcome Shabbat. We are, the blessings are on page 120.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kidshonu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Shabbat. Thank you.
Shalom. Just in case. Oh, we're going to need this for the blessings. Service continues on page 127. Towards the bottom of the page, we join together. We offer thanks, O God, for this Shabbat, which unites us in faith and hope. For Shabbat holiness, which inspires sacred living. For Shabbat memories glowing even in darkness. For Shabbat peace born of friendship and love. We offer thanks and blessings, O God. Service continues, welcoming Shabbat on page 134, the top of the page, Zambru Ladonai.
Zambru Ladonai bechinor, bechinor lekol zimra, b'chatzotzot bekol shofar. Haru lifnei hamelech Adonai, ira hayam umlot, tevel veyosheva. Adonai kibah lishvot haaretz, yishvot teveh b'tzedek, me'amim ve'me'esharim. Hiram hayam umlot, teveh ve'yosh teiva.
Service continues with Lecha Dodi as we welcome Shabbat together. We're singing all the odd numbered 13579.
Lecha Dodi, לקראת כלה, בני שבת נקבלה. Lecha Dodi, לקראת כלה, בני שבת נקבלה. שמוע וזכור בדיבורך, השמיענו אל המיוחד, אדוני אחד ושמו אחד, ושם תפארת ולתהילה. Lecha Dodi, לקראת כלה, בני שבת נקבלה. Lecha Dodi, לקראת כלה, בני שבת נקבלה. מקדש לעיר מלוכה, ומצאים מתוך אף אחד, רב לך שבט בעמק הבכה, והוא יחמול עליכם Lecha Dodi, לקראת כלה, בני שבת נקבלה. Lecha Dodi, לקראת כלה, בני שבת נקבלה. התעוררי, התעוררי, כי באורך תומי אורי, 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 שיר דברי, כבוד אדוני עלייך נגלה. Lecha Dodi, לקראת כלה, בני שבת נקבלה. Lecha Dodi, לקראת כלה, בני שבת נקבלה. והיו למשיסה שושה עלייך, ורחקו כל מבלעייך, יסיס עלייך אלוהייך, כמסוס חתן על כלה. Lecha Dodi, לקראת כלה, בני שבת נקבלה. Lecha Dodi, לקראת כלה, בני שבת נקבלה. בואי ושלום עטרת בעלה, גם בשמחה ובצהלה, תוך אמוני עם סגולה. בואי כלה, בואי כלה. Lecha Dodi, לקראת כלה, בני שבת נקבלה. Lecha Dodi, לקראת כלה, בני שבת נקבלה. יתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבה, בעלמא דברך חירותי והמליך מלכותי. בך יכונו ויומכון, ובחיי לכל בית ישראל. בעגלה, בעגלה, ובזמר קהלי, וימהו אמן. יש מרבה מבורך, לעולם לעלמיה יתברך. יתברך וישתבח, ויתפאר ויתרומם וינשא, ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל, שמי קדושה בריחו לילה, מן כל ברכתה ושירתה. תושבחתה ונחמתה, תמירן בעלמה, וימהו אמן. Yai, lai, lai, lai.
Lai, 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 lai.
Yai, lai, 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 lai.
Lai, 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 lai.
Yai, lai, 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 lai.
Barechu.
Arechu
Et Adonai.
et Adonai. Baruch Adonai, Amevorach, Leolam, Amen.
We continue together on page 149. Praise to you, Adonai, our God, from whom the evening flows. Your wisdom sets the way on which time and season glide. Your breath guides the sail of the stars. Creator of the tide of time and light, you guide the current of day into night. As heaven spans to infinity, you set its course for eternity. Praise to you, Adonai, our God, from whom the evening flows. Baruch Ata Adonai, Hama'ariv Aravim.
Avat Olam Beit Yisrael, Torah u'mitzvot, chukim u'mishpatim, otanu limadeta. Al ken Adonai Eloheinu, b'shofteinu u'b'kodeinu, nasiach nechutecha, v'yishlach b'divrei Toratecha, u'b'mitzvotecha, le'olam va'ed. Ki chayenu le'orech yameinu, yomam v'layla.
Shema
Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad.
Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Le'olam Vaed Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha B'chol lavavecha B'chol nafshecha U'b'chol meodecha Ve'hayu Hadvarim ha'ele Asher Anochi mitzavecha Hayom balevavecha V'shiratam levanecha V'dibarta b'ham V'shivtecha b'vetecha U'v'lechtecha b'derech U'v'shochbecha u'kumecha U'kshartam leot al yadecha Ve'hayu letotafot b'neinecha U'chtavtam al mezuzot beitecha U'visharecha Le'man tizkeru V'asitem et kol mitzvotai V'tem kedushim le'olechem Ani Adonai Elohechem, Asher hotzeiti etchem me'eretz Mitzrayim, liot lachem Elohim. Ani Adonai Elohechem, Adonai Elohechem emet.
Amen. Continue together on page 157. Standing on the parted shores of history, we still believe what we were taught before ever we stood at Sinai's foot, that wherever we go, it is eternally Egypt, that there is a better place, a promised land, that the winding road to the through the promise, that there is no way to get from here to there except by joining hands, marching together.
Elohim Adonai, mi kamocha nedar b'kodesh, nora tehilot osef elech, nora tehilot osef elech.
Malchutecha ravanecha, bokei hayam livnei Moshe u'Miriam. Zeli, zeli, anu ve'amehu. Adonai yimloch le'olam va'ed. Adonai
yimloch le'olam va'ed. Adonai yimloch le'olam va'ed. Adonai yimloch le'olam va'ed.
Page 160, we join together in the middle of the page. Grant, O God, that we lie down in peace and raise us up, O guardian, to life renewed. Spread over us the shelter of your peace. Guide us with your good counsel, and for your name's sake, be our help. Shield and shelter us beneath the shadow of your wings. Defend us against enemies, illness, war, famine, and sorrow. Distance us from wrongdoing. For you, God, watch over us and deliver us. For you, God, are gracious and merciful. God, our going and coming, to life and to peace evermore. Blessed are you, Adonai, guardian of Israel, whose shelter of peace is spread over us, over all your people, Israel, and over Jerusalem. Baruch atah Adonai, הפורס סוכת שלום עלינו ועל כל עמו ישראל ועל ירושלים.
ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת,
לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. ביני ובין בני ישראל אותי לעולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. כי ששת ימים יעשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ.
ושמרו
ושמרו בני ישראל השביעי שבת וינפש, שבת וינפש, ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. תפתח, תהילתך, אדוני, שפתי תפתח, ופי יגיד תהילתך.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu v'Elohei Avotenu v'Imotenu Elohei Avraham Elohei Yitzchak v'Elohei Yaakov Elohei Sarah Elohei Rivka Elohei Rachel v'Elohei Leah Ha'el Hagadol Hagibor v'Hanora El Elyon Gomel Chasadim Tovim וקונה הכל, וזוכר חסרות ואימהות, ומביא גאולה לבני בניהם, למען שמו באהבה. מלך עוזר ומושיע ומגן, ברוך אתה אדוני, מגן אברהם וזרעת שרה. אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, מחיי מתים אתה רב להושיע. משיב הרוח ומוריד הגשם, מחלקל חיים בחסד, מחיי מתים ברחמים רבים, סומך נופלים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר. מי כמוך בגבורות ומי דומה לך, מלך ממית ומחיה ומצמיח ישועה, בנאמן אתה לחיות מתים, ברוך אתה אדוני מחיי המתים. אתה קדוש ושמך קדוש, וקדושים בכל יום יהללוך סלה. ברוך אתה אדוני האל הקדוש. Shalom, Israel, Amka, Tasi, Leolam.
Shalom Erev al Yisrael Amecha Asi Leolam.
Ki ata hu melech adon lechol hashalom.
Ki ata hu melech adon lechol hashalom. לטוב בעיניך לברך את עמך ישראל
בכל עת ובכל שעה בשלומך. ברוך אתה אדוני, המברך את עמו ישראל בשלום.
It is time for our Simcha moment. We normally will do the Misheberach here, but we have a Torah service, so that will come a little later today. So for those of you joining us virtually, we invite you to share on the comments a Simcha from this past week. May include a birthday, anniversary, good news, and anniversaries and all that. I will try to read them, trying to follow it. Remember, we're like 15 minutes. Seconds, I'm sorry.
You're only 15 seconds behind, not 15 minutes.
15 minutes, I'll be a lot of time waiting here. But those of you here, thank you. Those of you who are in person, we have a Simcha mic. We invite you to come and do the same. We ask you to please refrain from touching the microphone. And also, we ask that each one of you states your name and you share your Simcha in about 1 or 2 sentences. And then we invite you to stay up here because we're gathering now. So we're.
Everyone is so polite. I love it.
I know.
No, you go first.
There's an X, and you can send the X.
Phil Meltzer and
Lauren Aronson.
it's our 11th anniversary.
I'm Paula Femmerman, and I just came back from Chicago and Milwaukee, getting to see my grandchildren and my cousins, and Rabbi Taylor Poslovsky. I got to see for services at her synagogue and then had New Year's Eve with her.
I'm Lainey Decker, and Tuesday was my birthday.
I'm Andrea Zwiebelman, and I just want to say that I have had a glorious week this week because I got to take care of my second granddaughter, Quinn, and she is 11 weeks old, and it's a great, great joy.
I'm Vic Finkelstein, and I was recently elected to be a member of the Board of Trustees of Bet Torah. So I'm very honored and grateful and look forward to working on behalf of the synagogue.
Thank you. And we had a simcha this week after a wait of about 3 years. The staff finally had their holiday staff party, which is always sponsored by our board. So thank you to our boards for doing this. You were off the hook for 3 years. We hope that we can do this every year, but we did it. It got canceled only about 5 times. So, including last week, the week before, because it was the day that we had that big
The storm,
storm.
yep.
So, we thought we'll never get there, but we did. And those were more than 2 sentences. But Carol's not here. So, as we gather on this Shabbat, we offer a special prayer for all the wonderful things that we shared. Divine source of blessings, we thank you for everything that enriches our lives. We now turn to you with gratitude as we share in the happiness of those who have marked their birthday, anniversary, good news, and accomplishments. Adonai, be with them now and always as we share this simcha and we honor each one of you for the gifts that you bring to our sacred community. Together we join in Shehecheyanu.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, shehecheyanu v'kimanu v'hikiyanu l'zman hazeh. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, shehecheyanu v'kimanu v'hikiyanu l'zman hazeh.
Congratulations, Mazel Tov, everybody. Thank you. Our service continues with a service for the reading of the Torah, and I would like to invite Samuel and Beatrice to join me up on the bima for opening the ark, and everybody else who is able, please stand and join us. Page 367, Romemu.
Romemu Adonai Eloheinu ve'isachanu leHakodesho. Romemu Adonai Eloheinu ve'isachanu leHakodesho. Ki kadosh Adonai Eloheinu. Ki kadosh Adonai Eloheinu. Romemu Adonai Eloheinu ve'isachanu leHakodesho. Romemu Adonai Eloheinu ve'isachanu leHakodesho. Ki kadosh Adonai Eloheinu. Ki kadosh Adonai Eloheinu. Romemu Adonai Eloheinu ve'isachanu leHakodesho. Romemu Adonai Eloheinu ve'isachanu leHakodesho.
All good things must come to an end. And at some point or at some level, every end is also a beginning. And although this Shabbat, we really have to say goodbye to the book of Bereshit, of Genesis, and it really has the most colorful characters. I mean, no doubt, from Adam and Eve all the way to Joseph and his brothers. And all those characters populated this era of patriarchs and matriarchs. But as it comes to an end, we also witness the attempt of one generation to shape the next generation. Jacob wants to make sure that his name and his teachings are not forgotten. And many commentators have suggested that the real change that happens when we move from Bereshit to Shemot, from Genesis to Exodus, is the transition from a family story, that of Abraham, to the story of a nation. Now, I am not so sure that family conflicts do not play a central role anymore in Jewish history. And certainly, I'm not sure that it doesn't in the life of the next important family, which is Moses, Aaron, and Miriam. But the book of Exodus does represent at least a change in focus. And as the Torah portion for this Shabbat opens, we are told in a seemingly roundabout way that Jacob is about to die. Now, the Torah and many other ancient societies spoke of the life of a person at the moment of their death. It does sound counterintuitive, but there is some wisdom, I think, in it. When a person dies, especially here in our congregation or in the years that I've been a rabbi and I meet with their family, their first instinct is to talk about what killed their loved ones, whatever it was. Even if the person dies at a very old age, our minds tend to focus on the last few months or years of that person's life. When death is right in front of us, the Torah, on the other hand, forces us to turn our attention to the person's life. And in this commentary, very famous, some of you might have grown up with the Hertz Chumash. I don't know if that rings a bell. That was written by Rabbi Joseph Hertz. And he teaches, quote, when someone dies, a death notice appears in the press. In reality, it is a life notice, because but for it, the world would never have known that the person had ever been alive. In other words, the death of a person is an opportunity to emphasize their achievements, their mark on this world, not just their end. We are commanded to remember and honor a person's lives, including their dying wishes. And strange as it may seem sometimes, the wishes that people have. This week's Torah portion, at the very beginning, we find these words that Jacob expresses to Joseph as his dying wishes. He says, Al na tikvereni b'Mitzrayim, do not bury me in Egypt. When I die, lay me down with my ancestors. Take me up from Egypt and bury me in their burial place. Now, firstly, Jacob does not explain why he wants to be buried where the cave of Machpelah is in Hebron. It may seem obvious to some of us, but only if we know the well-established Jewish practice of being buried in the land of Israel, or at least being buried with a bit of soil of the land of Israel into the grave. However, it is because of Jacob's wishes expressed in this week's parasha that such a tradition actually developed, and not the other way around. Not having an explicit reason, however, stated in the Torah, has never stopped anyone from coming up with explanations. So some commentators have suggested that in the ancient world, Egypt was a land dominated by a landscape of death. It sounds pretty depressing. But you know, what they're thinking is the pyramids and the temples of ancient Egypt were really tombs. And they were part of a very elaborate cult of the death. And now, I'm not sure that the Egyptians themselves at that time would have agreed with this depiction, but it is clear that in the Jewish tradition, we do not favor grand mausoleums and big tombs. So Jacob's insistence on being buried in Israel was a way of teaching the Jewish rejection of Egyptian burial practices. I like it. It's a little convoluted, but I get it. Now, perhaps it's more likely, I think, that this was a way for Jacob to really influence the next generation. In particular, the man in charge of the people after his imminent death, that is, Joseph. Joseph's first reaction would have been to build a huge tomb for his father. That's what you do in Egypt. But one commentator asked the following, quote, Jacob fears that Egypt might become a graveyard for the vision and special purpose of the line of Abraham. It is as if Jacob knew the title of the Torah portion for this week and repeated it to Joseph as a mantra, Vayechi, and he lived. Think live, my son. Sing lechaim, to life. We are really a culture of life, not of death. And although we might never know Jacob's real motivations for wanting to be buried in the land of our ancestors, Jacob is very clear as to what kind of action he demands from Joseph. Ve'asita imadi chesed ve'emet. The plain meaning of the text is that Joseph must carry out his father's last wishes out of loyalty towards his father. Jacob and Joseph are together. Well, were together, they were separated, and they were again together. So Joseph really owns Jacob that much. But the plain meaning is not always the best meaning. The Jewish tradition went in a different direction here. Some of you might have already recognized the words chesed ve'emet, which in our tradition represent a concept, a way of approaching life. Instead of understanding the words chesed ve'emet as steadfast loyalty, in later Hebrew, the words from this phrase come to mean true kindness. What kinds of acts are those of chesed ve'emet? Jewish tradition defines those acts as true kindnesses, as a good deed for which no reciprocal favor can be anticipated. In other words, we do things without any expectation of being rewarded. It also has the benefit of helping us to live happier lives, lives with fewer disappointments. The most obvious acts are whatever we do when we are tending to the needs of the dead. From this episode in the Torah, we learn about the importance of the sacred practice of the Chevra Kadisha, the holy society. Many historians have suggested that the true mark of a living Jewish community is that they were able to establish a Chevra Kadisha to honor the life of those who were no longer with them. Volunteering in the Chevra Kadisha is but one example of an act of chesed ve'emet, but I think that what Jacob was doing involved more than his own wishes. Jacob was teaching his children, our ancestors, and us, that we must live in such a way that all our acts are chesed ve'emet. In other words, we should not try to live so that what we do for others, we do with an expectation that someone will return the favor. It is the opposite of what goes around comes around. What goes around may never come around again. Our acts of chesed ve'emet go into the world and make a difference, but not necessarily a difference for us. I know it's difficult to grasp, but Judaism is not a utilitarian philosophy. Practical, yes, but never calculating what benefit we might derive from our good deeds. If we visit the sick, if we send a birthday card, or give a welcome gift to a neighbor or a new member, or do any other acts of true kindness for others, we must do them because they have value in and of themselves. They are an act of chesed ve'emet. And doing such acts is what makes us human and humane. They are an act of chesed ve'emet. Doing such acts is what makes us different. They elevate us above our instincts. They make us reevaluate our tendency to do everything in terms of what's in it for me. It is goodness for goodness own sake. As we gather on this Shabbat, right before we read the very end of the story, I pray that we find a way to do more of those kinds of acts, of chesed ve'emet, until it is said of us that we have lived our lives. Shabbat Shalom, everybody. Give me 1 minute to find what we're reading, but I think that you, in the meantime, can find the reading on page 302 of the Chumash, is the red book that you have in front of you. For the Aliyah, I would like to invite Jonathan to join me on the bima. Ya'amod l'Aliyah la'Torah. Now, this is not your first time anymore. This is your second time at least. We're going to lose the count, but we can go. All right, let me show you where you are. Can you read it from this? Is that comfortable for you?
Eloheinu melech ha'olam.
No, I'm sorry. Let's start from the beginning.
Baruch et Adonai hamborah.
Baruch Adonai mevorach leolam va'ed.
Baruch Adonai hamborah leolam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech ha'olam. Asher b'harbanu mikol ha'amim. V'natah lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten ha'Torah.
Amen. Could you hold on to this for me? Thank you very much. Amen. Vayechi Yaakov be'eretz Mitzrayim 17 shana. Vayehi yemei Yaakov shenei chayav 7 shanim ve'arba'im me'ot shana. Va'ikrevu yemei Yisrael lamud. ויקרא לבנו ליוסף, ויאמר לו, אם נא מצאתיכם בעיניך, שים נא ידך תחת יריחי, ועשית עמדי חסד ואמת, אל נא תקרבני במצרים, ושכבתי עם אבותי וניסנתני ממצרים, וקרבתני בקבורתם. ויאמר אנוכי עשה כדבריך. ויאמר השיבה לי, וישבע לו. Va'ishtachu Israel al Rosh Hamitah.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torah emet ba'yei olam nata be'oheinu Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. Yashar koach. Shabbat Shalom. You can go back. Thank you. As we gather on this Shabbat, we turn our thoughts to those in need of healing. Those of you joining us virtually, you can find a list, the Mishaberach list, in the e-news. And we also have an opportunity for you to offer names on Facebook Live. For those of us here in person, go around the sanctuary if you like to share names.
Harris Deutsch, my Uncle Daryl.
As we think of those in need of healing, together we join the Mishaberach prayers on page 371. May the one who blessed our ancestors bring blessings of strength, compassion, and healing to those of us who struggle with the oppression of addiction, emotional distress, and mental suffering. Surround them with loving kindness, grace, companionship, and peace. We conclude the service for the reading of the Torah on page 374 with Etz Chaim. If I can have my ark openers back to open the ark again, and invite everybody who's able to please stand and join us. If you're able, we invite you to remain standing for Aleinu Leshabeach. It's on page 586.
Aleinu leshabeach ladon hakol, lativ gedula leyotzei breshit, shelo asanu begoyei haratzot, velo samanu kemishpachot ha'adama, shelo
We turn our thoughts to a moment of remembrance. I invite you to turn to page 596. 596. When cherished ties are broken and the chain of love is shattered, only trust and the strength of faith can lighten the heaviness of the heart. At times, the pain of separation seems more than we can bear, but if we dwell too long on our loss, we embitter our hearts and harm ourselves and those about us. The psalmist said that in his affliction, he learned the law of God. And in truth, grief is a great teacher when it sends us back to serve and bless the living. We learn how to counsel and comfort those who, like ourselves, are bowed with sorrow. We learn when to keep silent in their presence and when a word will assure them of our love and concern. Thus, even when we are gone, the departed are with us, moving us to live as in their higher moments they themselves wished to live. We remember them now. They lived in our hearts. They are an abiding blessing. Thoughts turn to those who have departed this earth. We are observing this Shloshim period for Walter Prager, brother and brother-in-law of Ronnie and Larry Lerner. And on this Shabbat, we remember the following yortzites of members of our congregation: Hilda Adler, Mike Beckerman, Ruben Berman, Adolf Brobecker, William H. Crouch, Maurice Daniels, Ruth Eiler, Dora Fried, Benjamin Burt Gary, Theodore L. Gershom, Stuart Galinsky, Abraham H.A. Jacobs, Mary Janosek, Jacob Kliger, Grace A. Little, Phyllis Livingstone, Arlene Moidel, Carolyn Polinsky, Joseph Reisman, Joseph Rittmaster, Doris Rootman, Susan Rootman, Max Silverstein, Herman Supovsky, Betty L. Wolf, Naomi M. Wallman, Don Weiland. Zichronam livracha, may the memories be for a blessing. Page 598, we join together for Kaddish Yatom. יתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבה, בעלמה דברה חירותה וימליך מלכותה, בחייכון וביומכון ובחיי דכל בית ישראל, בעגלה ובזמן קריב, ואמרו אמן. יהי שמי רבה מברך, לעולם ולעלמי עלמיה, יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא, ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל, שמי דקודשה בריחו, לעילה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה, תושבחתה ונחמתה, דאמירם בלמה ואמרו אמן. יהי שלמה רבה מן שמיה, וחיים עלינו ועל כל ישראל, ואמרו אמן. עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל, ואמרו אמן.
עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום
Time for some announcements and thank yous. Special thanks to our musicians, Larry, Warren, and Leslie. Go ahead.
Our Shalom squad, Emily Kirstein. We would love to take our squad from a person to people. So sign up, Genius. Call the office. Let us know. We'd love to have you here helping hand out books, greeting people at the door.
I want to thank our Friday worship honors, Lainey and Jim, Julie and Elisa, and Sam, Beatrice, and Jonathan for joining us, and also our Onyx sponsors, Lauren and Phil, in honor of their 11th anniversary. Thank you.
Our Shabbat celebrations continue tomorrow morning with Sichat Shabbat, our Shabbat conversation in the library, and Shabbat morning worship right back here in the sanctuary. Both are multi-access.
Help CBT and Jewish JFS tackle food insecurity. It is time again for our Soup Bowl Soup Drive. Bring your soup donations to CBT between now and February 5th.
Oh, I see. That was the first time for some of you with that pun. That's lovely. Mark your calendars for the rest of our January Shabbatot of note. Next week, the 13th, after services, we have our Beit Tfilah, Songs of Justice, in honor of Tzedek Shabbat and Martin Luther King Jr. Day. RSVPs are required for dinner, and the deadline is January 11th. January 20th, new member Shabbat. Come welcome all of our new members that have joined recently. And January 27th, our family service Shabbat, where we will be joined by our pre-K and kindergarten class.
Wonderful. Our first Sunday Musar class is this Sunday at 10:30, around 10:30. Well, it's usually CR7, 10:30 in CR7.
Which is Classroom 7, which is in the triangle. All of this and more can be found on our website and public calendar and the app and the kiosk thingy out there, slides going by. I mean, you can find this. And if you have any questions, please feel free to call the office and we'll share with you that way.
After our closing song, we invite you to join us in the Ulam for Kiddush and Hamotzi and the Onek. But until then, this song, there are not a lot of songs that come from the stories of Joseph and his brothers. This one has one line from there. And is actually in context when they first see and recognize Joseph after many years of not having seen Joseph.
Oh.
The brothers ask, no, how is everybody thinking? And so Joseph asks the brothers, Od Avinu Chai, is our father still alive? And yes, he is. Amir Zerha comes from somewhere else, but that's what the line. That's why we're doing this song, because it's the only thing that is, at least in last week's Torah portion, it is Od Avinu Chai, and is that question. So, but you're gonna forget all that, and let's just sing together, stand and join us. Am Yisrael, Am Yisrael, Am Yisrael Chai. 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 Od Avinu
Yisrael, Am Yisrael, Am Yisrael Chai. Am Yisrael, Am Yisrael, Am Yisrael Chai. Od Avinu Chai, hey, hey. Od Avinu Chai, hey, hey. Od Avinu, Od Avinu, Od Avinu Chai.
Once more.
Od Avinu Chai, hey, hey. Od Avinu Chai, hey. Od Avinu, Od Avinu, Od Avinu Chai. Shabbat Shalom.
Take care of each other out there.